Let's bring in Kellyanne Conway. She joins us live from the White House today. Kellyanne, as you look at what's happening on the other side of the country where they've got this libertarian who works for Breitbart, he's scheduled to come in. Next thing you know, you got hundreds of people. You got people with masks. They're destroying a Starbucks. What's going on out there?
What's going on out there is what's going on all across the country. You've got protesters who feel very emboldened. They've got media cameras following them. They give interviews. I don't even know if they know what they're protesting. I'd love to do this big survey nationwide and ask everybody outside these airports, on the college campuses, what's got you so in a lather? I mean, really, is it the free speech? Having somebody maybe on your campus who has a dissenting point of view or wants to present an alternative point of view? And look, in the real world, when these kids grow up and go to try to find jobs, which they will in the Trump economy, life doesn't work that way, folks. You're going to work with people who disagree with you. You're going to encounter folks who don't, aren't just cosseting you in this protective environment. But look, the president has a point. It's like they don't welcome free speech. They're not protecting the First Amendment. I'm sure they don't hear much of it off the college campus in the classrooms. And that's just unfortunate, but not surprising.
It's everywhere, and it's happened with Democrats on Capitol Hill. We're watching them pretend to sing at night when their microphones don't work and walking out of committee meetings instead of confirming. So why wouldn't these 22-year-olds think that's the way to do things if their elected leaders are doing the same thing? But let's move on. We find out about 2 private diplomatic calls with the Mexican leader and with the Australian leader that have leaked out. Before we get to the contents of it, Kellyanne, is this something that really rankles the White House, that these transcripts have gotten out?
It's very unfortunate. Obviously, we're not commenting on private conversations in that way. We give a readout to the media on most conversations, but we don't release transcripts, and we certainly don't mischaracterize them as some others have. This is the practice for us, though. We're the ones not leaking. You saw it with the earlier reports. You see it here. You're a little bit hamstrung when you're the ones upholding either the law or, frankly, upholding a gentleman's agreement to not release.
Who did it?
Well, you can make your own conclusions, but again, this will be mischaracterized by the media. They will pounce on this because it's a heck of a lot better for them as a storyline today than covering the fact that the president and his daughter made a trip to Dover Air Force Base yesterday to receive the family of our brave fallen Ryan Owens in Yemen. It's a heck of a lot easier than figuring out what he'll say at the prayer breakfast today in front of people of multi-religious denominations. It's easier than talking about the amazing Rex Tillerson, our new Secretary of State.
No,
so
we're going to get to that.
This is my whole point about the presumptive negativity. This is my whole point about the presumptive negativity. And Brian, by the way, to your earlier point, the Democratic Party, we're seeing it unravel in front of our eyes, and we're seeing it be revealed in front of our eyes. A bunch of crybabies who say that they're going to oppose Supreme Court nominees before they even know the person's name and his academic credentials and impeccable judicial record. They are holding up our nominees to the cabinet. I was told yesterday this is the longest that the nation has gone without a Secretary of the Treasury, at least in modern times. If it's not the longest, it's darn close to it. We need a Secretary of Treasury, folks. For those who actually go to work in the morning and need the dollar to flourish, we need a Secretary of Treasury to be running things. This obstinance and obstruction is the modern Democratic Party. I think it's going to cost them because they're hysterical about everything now. You can't even, there's no gradation of hysteria. It's everything makes them cry and scream.
So, Kellyanne, backing up just a little bit, there are these comments that President Trump reportedly made to the Prime Minister, not happy with the refugee swap. Exactly. So, in reading the story originally from the Washington Post, it talks about the people inside the administration. So you're saying it's not from the White House, which makes one think it's probably from the State Department. And we've seen that, that dissent cable where 1,000 people have lined up and they've signed their names to it to say, yeah, we don't like what Donald Trump is doing with this executive order regarding immigration. Are you thinking that it probably got leaked by the State Department?
Well, it's not being leaked from the White House. And I'll leave you to report and your viewers to decide. But I will say this, it's dangerous to have these leaks, whether it's the intelligence reports earlier, which we would not comment on, so we were in a difficult position, but the right position, or calls like this. Look, anybody who just discovered that President Donald J. Trump is a resolute, decisive man who doesn't mince his words and who's putting America and her allies and her people in her interest first, is waking up, I think, out of a cave from the last 2 years. But at the same time, he has had very respectful conversations with many leaders just in the last week or so, 10 or more world leaders. He is trying to reach out to them, talk to the diplomatic corps, certainly, but he also makes very clear what his position is on any number of issues around the globe. He's very respectful. You saw him receive the UK Prime Minister Theresa May here last week. He looks forward to receiving additional leaders. Benjamin Netanyahu is coming from Israel later this month. And so, but again, I think people who are trying to get these salacious details and always try to marginalize the very serious business at a rapid pace that's going on right behind me every day, it's really not serving the country well.
Well, Kellyanne, I'm confused because he tweeted out, he said that the refugee swap was a dumb deal. So I was saying earlier in the show, I didn't think he minded that all of us now know that he had a heated conversation with the Prime Minister, because he was the one who tweeted out it was a dumb deal.
Well, what he wants you to know is that he got results. I think that's more important. I'm going to the process. He's going to the results. So I'm talking about the means, you're talking about the end, Ainsley. We're talking about the same thing, but in his case, or my case, I'm saying that we really shouldn't have leaks. I like the fact that the president cleaned it up through his own platform, going around the media that's trying to marginalize him, tweeting directly to everybody, democratization of information, saying, here's the result I got, and it was the result I wanted.
Okay.
Got it.
Meanwhile, Catherine Herridge had a Fox exclusive yesterday. She went down to McAllen, Texas, with the Department of Homeland Security General Kelly, and he said, sounds like the wall should be finished within 2 years. Listen to this.
We'll build it where it is needed first, as identified by the men and women who work the border, and then we'll fill it in as time goes on. I really hope to have it done within the next 2 years.
So is that your timetable, what you guys are working on?
Sounds like the classic Trump project, on schedule and under budget. So we'll see. I think people have great hope that one of the centerpieces of Donald Trump's campaign is a centerpiece of his presidency, which is to construct a physical wall on the southern border. Now that we have a Secretary of Homeland Security, obviously he will take a very large lead in this. Very happy to see him there yesterday, make that commitment. I will tell you that they've been working with professionals who know about the particulars and the construction particulars, and they feel very confident that this is something that can be done. And I think the physicality of the wall will show people in a tangible way that this is a man of action and resolution and completion. And that's incredibly important in a town that talks a lot and acts very little.
Yeah, and I also thought it was interesting, too. He talks about a layer, the wall being part of it, but there's going to be a layer of defenses, including finding out what the problem is in Central America and why they keep coming here. So there'll be a multifaceted. It seems like the right guy in charge. Something else happened. There was an operation that evidently yielded an unbelievable amount of results from an al-Qaeda cell. And sadly, Ryan Owens, in his 12th tour of duty, would not survive. His body came back to Dover Air Force Base. Could you bring us through the decision for President Trump, after putting this mission in action, to be there to greet the body of Ryan Owens along with his family?
Well, it was something the president wanted to do, and he wanted to do it personally. When he was briefed on the details of Ryan Owens' homecoming here to the United States with his family, he immediately said he would like to clear his schedule and go. Obviously, we don't leak. It was kept secret, as it should have been, as an OTR and off the record. And he and his daughter Ivanka were able to go yesterday and speak to the family and pay their condolences and respect. The family requested no cameras, no press. And, of course, that was respected as well. But I saw the president after he got back last night, and we were able to discuss what a moving day it was. And this is what presidents do and what leaders do. And I saw some interviews earlier in your broadcast of people who may have felt differently in the past. But you can expect this president to always be fully involved with the fallen and their families. That was a successful operation in terms of yielding, in terms of destroying 14 operatives and yielding a cache of information. Intelligence information that we can use, but we all are very sad today. I would hope as a nation we're very sad today for the loss of Ryan Owens.
Yeah, as a country, we are praying for all of those men and women that fight for our great country, and that leads us into this next topic. The National Prayer Breakfast is today, and I know you'll be attending. We have a live look at folks getting ready for the National Prayer Breakfast this morning. This is at the Hilton in Washington, D.C. Kellyanne, what can we expect there today?
The president will make remarks, obviously, and it's a tradition for presidents to do so. I was struck in looking at the schedule for today, Ainsley, how many religious denominations will be represented in private meetings with the president, will be represented, obviously, among the congregation there. And this is a president who's been very clear in his defense of religious liberty. And our religious rights are under attack, regardless of your denomination, but particularly, people, certainly around the globe, he's talked about the Christians being decapitated and getting very little coverage for
and
that.
Kellyanne, we'll be covering this. We're up against a hard break now.
I'm leaving here and on my way there, so I'll see you there.
All right, we'll be covering
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kellyanne.